Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into the history of a single family that spans an incredible 2,000 years. But here's the thing. This isn't really a story about genealogy. It's a story about power. The real kind. The kind that lasts longer than kings, outlives entire empires, and weathers any revolution.
It's a question we always ask, right? Who's really in charge? Is it the person with the fancy title, the crown, the official army, or is it someone else? Someone operating behind the scenes, controlling something much more fundamental. Well, this story makes a pretty strong case that it's the latter.
And this slide gets right to the heart of it. You see, you can wear the crown, you can claim to rule all the land you see, but the person who owns the flow of the river, they're the one with the real, lasting power. It's all about logistics, controlling the movement of stuff, of people, of money, and that is the secret history of the Gardiner family. So, let's start where it all began. We have to wind the clock way back, 2 millennia actually, all the way to Roman Britain, to see how the blueprint for this incredible logistics empire was first drawn up. Now, when you hear the name Gardiner, your mind probably goes straight to, well, a gardener, right? Someone who works the land. But that is the first and biggest mistake you could make. Their power never ever came from the soil. It came from the water. See, the name has nothing to do with agriculture. It actually comes from the old French word garder, which means to watch, to ward, to guard. They weren't gardeners, they were the guardians. And what they were guarding was the key to everything.
And check this out. Their history is deep. We're talking 100 AD, a Roman cohort guarding a critical river crossing. Fast forward a few centuries, they're the ones ferrying King Alfred's army across the Thames. By the time the Normans show up in 1066 and write their big Domesday book, the Gardiner's control of the area was already considered ancient. They weren't conquerors, they were basically part of the landscape, the essential infrastructure.
And this quote just nails it. Think about it. Invaders could come in, burn the city to the ground, declare themselves the new boss, but if they wanted to actually move their army or get their money, the wool harvest, across the river, they had to talk to the ferrymen. The gardeners were the unbreakable cog in the machine. They controlled the choke point.
All right, so they control a river crossing. Big deal, right? Well, this is where it gets really clever. Let's see how they turn that simple physical control into a massive, sophisticated financial machine that operated right under the nose of the English monarchy.
So, by the Middle Ages, they'd leveraged their position into official government jobs. They became the king's auditors, which meant they were the ones who decided how much every bale of wool, England's biggest export, was worth. Then they partnered up with the Hanseatic League, the German trading powerhouse of the era. They controlled the key docks, and the best part? They were protected by so-called ancient rights that were older than the monarchy itself. The king literally couldn't touch.
And this right here reveals the genius of their system. For every official job they did for the king, they were running a second, secret operation for themselves. So yeah, they're auditing wool for the crown's tax, but at the same time, they're skimming off a huge untaxed portion for their own private syndicate. They built a secret treasury that was way richer than the king's.
And if you want the smoking gun, here it is. In 1484, King Richard III gives a pardon to one of the gardeners, but he specifically excludes any crimes related to the wool trade. This is an incredible admission. The king knew, he absolutely knew, that these cargo wolves were robbing him blind. But their grip on the economy was so total, he was completely powerless to do anything about it.
So, what do you do when you're richer than the king and he can't stop you? Well, you stop asking for a seat at the table, you just buy a new king. And that brings us to the most insane part of this whole story. The merchant coup of 1485, where this family of glorified accountants and dock managers literally overthrew the English crown.
And how'd they pull it off? Simple. Cold, hard cash. An estimated 40,000 pounds, which was an astronomical sum back then. This was their off-the-books money, the profits from that parallel treasury. And now, they were weaponizing it to launch a full-blown invasion.
And they executed it like a logistics operation. Step 1, fund the mercenary army. Step 2, get their Hanseatic buddies to provide the ships for transport. Step 3, their own private dock security, the cargo wolves, actually fought on the front lines. And it all ends with Sir William Gardiner himself supposedly landing the killing blow on King Richard III. This wasn't a political battle. It was a hostile corporate takeover.
And here's the final masterstroke. After they win, what happens to their private army? They don't just go home. No, they get absorbed directly into the royal household. They become the king's new official bodyguards, the very same Yeomen of the Guard you can still see at the Tower of London today. I mean, wow, they didn't just win the game, they became the game.
So, you've taken over England. What's next? You franchised the model. The Gardiner River machine was so ruthlessly effective, it became a repeatable business plan, exported to the New World to pull wealth out of a whole new continent.
So let's just quickly break down the original blueprint again. It's simple, really. You control a key river crossing. You set up a ferry to charge tolls, you run a pub for supplies, and you build a warehouse to control all the cargo. In London, the main commodity was wool.
Now watch this. 1682, a member of the family shows up in Philadelphia and runs the exact same playbook on the Schuylkill River, controls the crossing, sets up a ferry for tolls, opens a tavern, builds a trading post. The only thing that changes is the product. They just swapped wool for furs. It is a perfect copy and paste job.
And they just kept doing it, stamping this model all across the American frontier. They followed the rivers, setting up their choke points, and extracting wealth for centuries, all the way out to the Dakotas with the American Fur Company. The machine just kept on running.
So after 2 millennia, 2,000 years of outlasting Romans, Saxons, and Tudors, of crossing an ocean and building a new empire, what could possibly break a system this powerful and this entrenched? Well, it wasn't another king, or another army, or some political revolution.
I mean, just look at this timeline again. It's just staggering. A continuous line of control stretching from the Roman Empire all the way to the American Gilded Age. The river machine seemed absolutely invincible.
The answer was technology. The thing that broke the machine was a new machine, the railroad. The Iron Horse didn't care about rivers. It forged its own path, creating entirely new routes for commerce that just went around the ancient river choke points, the ferries, the fords, the wharfs, that the Gardiner family had controlled for 2,000 years. Almost overnight, their entire system became obsolete.
And that leaves us with one final big question. The whole Gardiner saga proves that true power doesn't come from a title. It comes from controlling the flow. The rivers and the docks were the choke points of their world. So, what are the choke points of ours? Is it fiber optic cables? Cloud computing platforms? Global shipping lanes? That's the real lesson from this 2,000-year story. Where's the river today?